Well, hi everybody, and welcome to Talking True. And I am really excited today because I have my dear friend joining me once again. Many of you know her. Her name is Lisa Gunshore, and she has an amazing channel here on YouTube. And actually, it was Lisa that got me started on my own YouTube channel, so I have a lot to thank her for. She's an author, she's a writer, she teaches block therapy, she's an Ayurveda practitioner. I mean, the list goes on and on. Lisa is multi talented. And I invited her here today for her to talk about what's been going on for her lately. So, Lisa, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
It's an honor to be here, Julie, and to be with you and to be on your show and your channel. I really appreciate all of the support. And I'm excited to share what's going on because my second book is coming out, I think, next week. I haven't got the exact date, but I think it's next week. And that book, you've been on that entire journey with me. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really powerful for me to talk to you first about what I'm about to share with everyone and about my own journey of healing and self-discovery. So I'm really excited about it. It's been such a work in progress, and it's evolved into a place I was not expecting. As you know how it is, you go through the editing process and all of those things with your writing. And I'm just really proud of what it became in the end. I'm just really proud of it. So yeah,
Wonderful.
what's going on?
That's exciting. So, what's the title of the book?
So the book is called Cherry Pie. My first book, which I have one behind me, is Enlightenment Pie. And so my second book is called Cherry Pie, Chasing Love and Finding Compassion. The whole book is it's really a 7-year journey of, you know, falling in love and then getting my heart broken and then going to an initiation with the Dalai Lama 6 times over.
Wow.
It just sort of worked out that way. It was never, in fact, it wasn't until I wrote the book that I was like, wow, it's pretty wild that like after every breakup, I ended up at a Dalai Lama event. Like it just sort of worked out that way, kept pushing me through until I did find my husband, Scott, and fell in love, and am here today. So.
That's great. So for women particularly who are looking for love and feeling like, they keep kissing the wrong prince, the frog prince, you are a testimony of hope, right? And also that the two things can go together simultaneously, i.e. your spiritual path and healing and all of that, as along with meeting a life partner. Because oftentimes people can think that they're incompatible. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think that is so true, because I think we think there's something non-human about being spiritual. And I get goosebumps as I say that. And so I know it's important, there's something really powerful about saying you can have sex, you can fall in love, you can get your heart broken, you can work a job, you can,
Mm-hmm.
you know, do all these things that humans do, and also follow a spiritual path with deep self-inquiry and deep understanding. And I really I shared my story in a very raw way, and in a way that I really want to inspire women and men um, with the lessons that I learned, because we misinterpret the energy. And I think it's powerful to say that, yes, I am a psychic medium, and I still didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I still wasn't necessarily right. And yet I was right in some of the ways. So it's like, I think what I explain in my book is you can have these deep spiritual connections with a partner, and it still may not work out. And it still may not be what you thought it was.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, because it's easy to think that you failed in the relationship game because the relationship didn't kind of continue. Um, yeah, and it's easy to tell yourself stories, especially around the whole sort of spiritual ideology. and what that looks like when you're in a relationship. And of course, none of those things really hold true because everybody's different. And it might be that you're just with somebody for a certain period of time to learn whatever it is you're meant to learn and then move on from it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I'm sure you've gotten the question as much as I have, like, am I going to meet my soulmate? And I do have a section in the book where I talk about that because a soulmate isn't a life partner. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really important for everyone to understand that, to me, at least, this is my definition of a soulmate, is someone that you've had other lifetimes with and you have a connection with, and you also have karma with them. And that karma may not line up for that person to be with you until the day that you die, no matter how much you love them or even how much they love you. You know, you might be the person that's ending the relationship. So I think it's really important for us to be careful with our language around soulmates and twin flames and all these things, because are we looking for that, or are we looking for a partner and
Mm-hmm.
someone who shares our spiritual values, and our family values? Like, that's what we're really looking for. A soulmate can have all that fiery passion and excitement, but it tends to burn out as quickly as it starts.
Yes. Yes. And also the other part of all that too is it might be that your soul partner or your life partner doesn't necessarily follow the same sort of spiritual goals or path as you. And that's perfectly okay. Particularly women again. What's happened is I've worked with a lot of people that think, oh, my husband isn't interested in meditation, or he doesn't want to come with me to yoga class or whatever. And they think that that's a problem, or a hindrance. That's a big thing. Will he be a hindrance? And of course, none of that's true, because we can utilize every relationship issue, if you want to call it an issue, to our advantage. Um, and so it's okay. You don't necessarily have to be with somebody who is as engaged as you might be in your spiritual practices.
I'm grateful you brought that up, because a lot of my book speaks to codependency and what are our patterns of codependency and versus a pattern of recovery. And that is part of codependency, wanting everyone to go along with you, wanting to
Yeah.
feel and wanting to feel validated. Our low self-worth, it's like, well, I want to, I want my partner to validate me. And there's a lot of courage and strength in recognizing that you don't have to do the same things, and you don't need that validation. And the strongest partnerships are one where each partner can be truly their authentic self and support one another, even if they're not fully engaged in what each other believes or is doing or experiencing. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really important. That independence is something that I've struggled with, and that's what I talk about in the book. And you know that, Julie, because you were with me on the journey. And I had a really hard time being alone, and I'm inspired every day for the last 15 years by Osho's statement in his tarot deck with the Hermit card that says, loneliness is the absence of the other, and aloneness is the presence of oneself.
Mm-hmm.
I want that on my wall. Like, that is something that is deep within me. I quoted it in my new book, because there's something about being present with yourself. And it's very difficult to do because we want to deny everything that we feel when we're finally alone.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and all the things that we don't like about ourselves, especially if we haven't brought them to light, if they're not conscious, if we're not conscious about what we're doing. So it is a lot of work, but the outcomes are incredible, right? Because we're empowered. We empower ourselves to stand in our truth, to be authentic, to speak from a place of our own wisdom instead of the wisdom of someone else, and not be needy, especially in relationships, and hoping somebody will fill those gaps or those voids within us that we don't want to see, or we don't want to deal with. So it's really powerful. So do I'm assuming you deal with those kinds of things in your book in a way that is accessible for people.
Yes, I hope so. I guess we'll find out. But I really share my stories and my love stories. And at the end of each story, I share the codependency statements that are part of that lesson for that particular relationship. So I really wanted to highlight for the reader, and honestly, for all of you out there that struggle with relationships and struggle with like finding the right person and being ghosted and all these things that go on, I really wanted to highlight what part is coming from ourselves. I felt like it was really important for me to, there's so many love stories out there that blame the
Yeah,
guy. I mean, I
yeah.
hate to say it, but there's a lot of like the guys, it's their problem, you know. And I really wanted to take responsibility for my part and show what that responsibility looked like in a way that was very direct. So it might feel intense for some people that are like, whoa, that's me. I totally do that. But I did that on purpose because I wanted to share, like, from this experience, I learned that I wasn't creating emotional safety for myself. And you know, I was staying, like, there's a great statement that just jumped out to me this week when I was proofreading the final copies, which, you know, the codependency statement is, I am extremely loyal and I stay in harmful situations too long. And
Wow.
the recovery statement is, I am conscious of my need for emotional and physical safety, and I remove myself from situations that are harmful to me. Right?
Wow.
There's 5 or 6 of those at the end of every single chapter. Sorry, everyone. But it really points directly to what is happening in the moment and
Mm,
how we are making decisions. And it's not just love. I mean, my book is all about love, but it's friendships too. You know, it's the people pleasing. I'm sure there's many of you out there,
yes.
please, right? And
Yes.
I don't know what you think, Julie, but I have found, like, through all of the work I've done in the last 20 years, like the last few have been the hardest because it shifted from relationships with men and dating to relationships with women as friends. And that's actually been harder for me to create boundaries because it's almost more painful, because it's one thing to say, oh, that relationship didn't work out. It's another thing to have to choose to end a friendship or relationship because it wasn't healthy for you, because you don't want to be thought poorly of, you know? And so there's a real, and I would say, as challenging as that has been for me, there's a real empowerment to it. My vitality is back. Like, I
Yes.
feel strong. And so, and I'm sure many of you have had that relationship that ended. And I speak to it directly in the book on a relationship I had on Maui, which is, as soon as that person was out of my space, it was like, oh my God, like, the weight that lifted and the energy that lifted. And so protecting our vitality so we can create in this world is the most important thing, I think.
Yes. I mean, absolutely. I'm with you 100%. I mean, I haven't been through the same, the romantic relationship dramas, if you want to call it dramas, that
Oh,
you
it's
have.
drama. You know it's drama.
um, because I've been blessed with having, a long-term relationship that's been, smooth, fairly smooth. We've had our ups and downs, but it's been cohesive and lovely. However, the sort of friendship dynamic has been tricky to navigate at some points, because I think if you are somebody that's empathic and compassionate and you live true to your soul and your calling, and you are doing the work to support others to kind of wake up, or whatever you want to call that, You can easily be taken advantage of unless you've got strong boundaries, and unless you're willing to really look at the kind of the energy dynamic, the relationship dynamic, and the need to sort of people please, or the need to be available, or the need to always like be there for a friend who reaches out. So yeah, I've been in the same position where I've really had to take a close look at what I would call fair weather friends, who pitch up when they need help, or they need a quick answer or a quick read. They want a quick reading from you, and are never around when there's difficulty. So I have had to cast some people off. And like you said, it's incredibly empowering and freeing and revitalizing, because you don't realize just how vampiric that energy can be. And I think too, what happens is when you become more available or accessible in terms of the public eye, like you have a YouTube channel, or you've written books, or you have services where people can reach out to you, and your email's available, then there can be more of that happens. And I'm sure you've also had emails where people are just kind of fishing, and they're trying to sort of get a free kind of reading, or counseling session or something, via questions they're asking, with no real intention to carry that forward to book a session, or all of those things. So you really do have to be, I don't want to say on your guard, but you have to be very aware that these things happen, and they're very much a part and parcel of living an authentic life.
Yes, absolutely. And there's these like little phases, the first phase is just saying no, right? No to commitments.
Yeah.
And I still have to be really careful about like because I love to overcommit. And that's a real cliche thing, you overcommit, you say no, but there's a refinement to that, of understanding like even just understanding how to manage your energy, and what you can handle and what you can't handle, and how you feel intuitively when you receive the email or the phone call, or when you're sending something out. Is this something I can do? And so, yeah, there's all these, I feel like you graduate to these new levels of awareness around it too. It's like, wow, I need to say no. And I've gone back to my journals, and it's like, oh, I wrote about it here, and I wrote about it here, and I wrote about it here. And like today, it's like, wow, I am really getting clear. Like it just kind of laser focuses you more and more clearly about what it is. And I think part of that is the more you come into your own self too, the more you're clear about what you want to do and what your mission is here. And I think, and taking time for yourself, like, I think that's the other thing about what we're talking about with the overcommitments and the vampiric energy is, I've recognized, and it really took this last year for me to recognize, that I actually do need time to just think and
Yeah.
process and rest, and that's okay. That I don't need to go 7 days a week, 24 hours a day in all aspects of my life. And it's made a huge difference. I've returned to my own journaling and things that I kind of had to put aside. I didn't have time for it. And so this year too, like something new for me is I'm prioritizing my exercise, my wellness, my journaling, my own creative writing. I created a Substack, so that's brand new for those of you that don't know. I'm on Substack now, and that's really sharing more of my own creative writing about my life. And so I just think protecting your energy is, that's a huge thing. I think energy management is a big thing. And I
Yeah.
think that's happening even, we have all these YouTube channels, and I think there's a lot of folks out there saying that they can give you the answers, or that they can, heal you or fix you or whatever. And it's funny because I've never really called myself a healer. I've thought about that. I've always called myself a psychic. I've never really called myself a healer. And I've been thinking a lot about that, because I think, we create our life and we heal ourselves. And that also protects your energy by not having other people feed on it, even as readers or healers or whatever they're doing for you. That's an energy suck as well.
I love what you're saying about 2025 and the focus on self-care, because that's a big one for me. And I know a lot of other people I've been seeing on threads, there've been conversations around self-care and looking at vitality levels and I guess being more mindful about where one's energy is going, so that there's not this sort of depletion into areas that really don't return anything. It's not kind of a mutual exchange. So I think it's great to have that focus. So coming back to the book, when is the launch date?
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be sometime next week. Our official launch of the book will be Valentine's Day because
Oh,
it's
nice.
about love. But you may be able to find it a little bit earlier, but we'll be officially launching the book and sharing everything about it on Valentine's Day, which I'm really excited about. I really worked hard to honor the men that I loved and of course, honor my husband, Scott, for all of his incredible support. And so I'm excited to kind of link it to the holiday. So
Brilliant. And we will have all of that, we'll have the link and everything in the show notes, so people can just hit, and go and check out the book and all of those things. So do you have or are you working on a workbook to go along with it, or is the workbook available with it, or how, what is that
yeah,
like?
yeah. So of course you know that, I'm sure. I'm sure you just sense that. But yeah.
Just
So in the book, there are self-inquiry questions tied into the codependency in the book. However, my first book, Enlightenment Pie, is actually the process. So my second book is the context for Enlightenment Pie. So Enlightenment Pie is also a workbook that works alongside. And I will have a workbook that's coming out hopefully this summer that is called Cutting Into It. And it's going to be a workbook to navigate food and love addiction together, because that's my own personal journey with food and love addiction. And it really comes down to loving yourself. And I think, going back to the self-care piece you were just talking about, I think the more you can accept yourself and begin to love yourself and feel love inside of yourself, the easier it is to have self-care. I've had a real shift this last year. I have Ananda, my ma, behind me on purpose because she's been such a guide for me the last off and on, for several years, but really this last year, I found this book. It's the Gospel of Ma. There's just so much love, Julie. And I think we deny ourselves and we do all these things to keep busy, to deny who we are, because we don't love ourselves. And so the more that I've been able to accept myself for who I am, I posted on Instagram this year, I had these photos taken in this incredible red dress and crown and the whole thing. And that was my vision for this year, was I just want to be my whole self and be okay with it. And that's when the self-care really started. It started for me this year because I actually wanted to take care of myself instead of pushing it aside to try to do other things.
Yes. And to step fully into self-care for me too is about stepping fully into who I am, having the courage to share freely, but not overshare, not overextend, because that doesn't serve any purpose. And oftentimes when we do overextend and overshare, it's because, again, we're looking for validation, or there's a neediness behind it, as opposed to authentic sharing, which is really free and there's no neediness inherent in it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on for you then this year.
Yes, a lot. I'm very excited about this year. I'll be bringing my podcast back on the air, which I'm really excited about. and also doing some series to teach some spiritual development and also some leadership development for those of you who are leading teams of people. So, or just wanting to be a visionary within your own right. And so I'm really excited about that as well. And I'm hoping my workbook will be out later this year. I'm working on a Tarot mastery book. So I've been reading Tarot since I was 16, which has been 30 years now. So I want to support others in, it's not a book of meanings. It's really a book to find your own meanings within the cards, which is what how I learned and definitely, supported me with my cards. So yeah, so I've got a lot of big projects in front of me, but all very creative, fun things.
Sounds great. And so you're going to kind of reboot or bring up to speed the Buddhist biohacker platform as well, right? And you
Yes.
do interviews and things.
Yep, we rebranded it a little bit, so it's a little bit more bold, I would say, this year, but so much of it is the same as it's always been and the energy that it's always been. So yeah, so this year, the only thing that'll be different is I won't be doing as many interviews. It's not going to be only an interview show. I'm going to be doing more shows where I'm kind of sharing whatever it is I feel like sharing at the time, and then also interviews as well. And hoping to do something with One Heart, One Earth, our conference, and bringing one of those back later this year as well. More focused
Yeah.
on near-death experiences and connecting with the other side, which I think a lot of people are interested in more than ever.
Absolutely. Well, One Heart, One Earth was great. I mean, you ran that retreat for 3 or 4 years, didn't you? Or you did it 2 or 3 times across one year. I forget how it worked, but
Yeah, 4 or 5 times over about
was
3 years.
it okay?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
that was great. That was really powerful. I love those retreats. They were fantastic.
Me too, me too. I mean, I think we're all ready for community. It seemed like everyone kind of took a little bit of a break the last year or two. And I feel like this year's energy, I don't know if you feel it, but it just feels really
Yes.
great. And I feel ready for community again and excited to bring everyone together. And I had a loss last year. I actually had a few in my family last year that were pretty intense. And so I really feel called to support people who are going through their own loss. And so I think what a great platform to have something like OHO to support people who are grieving or who are struggling with being here on the planet. So I'm pretty excited about that too. So I have all these like plans. So now it's like the execution of the plans.
I know you don't have any problem with that. You're great at starting things up and getting the energy behind them. I mean, it's amazing what you do and what you've created over the last several years too. It's really something. So you also have you've got content and courses already available via the Buddhist Biohacker platform, haven't you?
I do. I have 9 courses currently available on my website, and I actually the web host that I use has this beautiful new format for courses. It's just amazing. It shows you the progress you're making. It sends you updates on your lessons. So I rebuilt all of those courses this last fall. So 9 available. So I really start with the basics. So I have a spiritual foundation course that just teaches you how to meditate, how to journal, how to do some self-inquiry practice, really just how to get connected with yourself. I do have spiritual development. So if you're wanting to develop your gifts, I have a really fun course where it's a fire hose of all the different kinds of modalities, from tarot cards to clairvoyance to healing modalities. And that course is really beautiful because if you're not sure what you want to do and you feel called to get out there and do something, it gives you an option to kind of try everything so you can feel what feels really good to you, what's in alignment. And then I have an Ayurveda course. So I do have an introduction to Ayurveda for those of you who are interested in natural healing, because Ayurveda is very complex. And so I put together a course that just gives you, it's only 3 lessons. And it really just gives you the foundation of what Ayurveda is all about. So yeah, I have, and then I have a leadership course as well. And so yeah, and Tarot. So courses are available. Most of the courses have either a book or a handbook that comes with it as well. And then you walk through each course weekly, and you can purchase the courses individually. But I've brought back the Light Warrior program for just my platform. So it's just my courses, but you can purchase for a one-time fee. You can purchase all of them. It's going to take you about 15 months to go through all those courses. And but if you're interested in that, that's available as well. So yeah, I have lots of courses, and I'll be revamping many of them throughout the year this year. Just, you know how it is, they evolve. So they're there, and there's more to come.
So will you take any downtime once you've launched your book? Are you planning a little?
I am not planning on any downtime other than I've become very clear about my cycles when we talk about managing our energy. So I'll be for full force for, maybe 30 days, and then I'll take a few weeks, and then so we're going to kind of launch things in series so that I can take breaks and rest, and that way I can give 1,000% to what I'm doing and then take a break, which again is something that's new for me. I'm used to just go, 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 go until I burn out, and I will not be doing that.
Yeah, no. You've graduated from that, right?
Yes, yes. I think it's important to look at, like, I figured out, about 3 to 6 months is about what I can handle for like full force Shakti creative flow. And then I really need a break. If I go past that time frame, it really is when I end up needing like 6 months off. So
Right.
I'm really clear with that. And I'll share too, for one-on-one sessions, it's the same thing. So I'm still available for drop-in sessions. And I do have a 90-day package that you can purchase where you work with me for 90 days, because same thing, I feel like we can work together for 90 days. You can make a huge impact on something you're wanting to transform. And then from there, you can decide, and we can decide, if we want to move forward together and continue, or if that was all we needed. Sometimes you're working through, how it is. Sometimes we're working through something and we really need support for a few months, and then we're okay again, and we're out on our own. So I've kind of removed any ongoing memberships. I've removed anything that's a long-term commitment, and really keeping things as a clear, focused commitment of time and energy for me and for any clients or students.
Brilliant. So that's, you're available online as well as in person. You still have an office in Colorado?
I do. I'm in my
Yes.
office right now. So I have an office in Centennial, Colorado, which is like a suburb of Denver. And so I do in person here. I have a yoga studio here where I teach classes. But so many of my clients are everywhere, as you know, yours are the same. And so, Zoom, FaceTime, telephone call. If you want old school telephone, I do all three. So
Brilliant. Well, that's great. I think we're kind of at the time where it's time to wrap up, but is there anything else you want to share before we head off into the sunset?
Oh, I just want to say thank you to you, Julie, for all of your support all of these years. And I'm excited for anyone who is really struggling when it comes to love and relationships and self-love, and you're ready to make a change. Like, definitely check out my new book, Cherry Pie, because it will be supportive, I have no doubt. So
Fantastic. Well, Lisa, thank you so much. As always, I really appreciate and love spending time with you. It's just so great, and I always, I always learn something. I take something away. So, thank you for being so willing to share your wisdom with people. It's really needed in this world.
thank you so much, Julie. Right back at you. I really appreciate you, and appreciate everyone who's taking the time to listen to any of us talk and share and connect.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for Talking True. I really appreciate you, as always. If you haven't subscribed yet, you know what to do. And please share if you feel this content has value for you. So until next time, take it easy, be well, and bye for now.